Today I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite tools to use in the shop, the sector. Many of you have probably never heard of a sector, know anything about it. This is a tool that makes it easy to do things like break lines up into segments, draw polygons, measure angles. You can do all sorts of things with it. And historically, it's something that people use both in drawing and in cabinetry, joinery, carpentry to help do things where you don't have to do complicated math. That way you don't have to break up fractions, do a lot of napkin math while you're trying to do your woodworking. So let me show you how this thing works and why it's such a handy little tool. Now the problem I'm going to use the sector to solve today is I want to mount this dowel plate on this block and get it in the middle. So I've already laid out the center lines, which you can see on this block. Now, whenever you measure the back, because I want to inlet this in, meaning to set it down in the wood, the length of this is 5 13/16, and the width is 1 13/16. So it doesn't math out very nicely. Plus, whenever you do the layout, you've got to go in and do a whole lot of measuring and everything to figure it out. But a much easier way to do this is to use the sector. So we'll start with the short section, the short side of this dowel plate. So you need a set of dividers and measure the outside width of this dowel plate and lock your dividers down. So then you'll take your sector, and notice there's a whole bunch of numbers and stuff on here. There's this L section, which is called the line of lines, which is what we'll use today. Then the P is the line of polygons. That way you can lay out a polygon, but again we're going to use the line of lines. So what we want to do is divide this line in half, in two sections, to find the center of the dowel plate. Since this is not a very huge measurement, what I can do is come down on the sector and find where it says 2. Put the points into 2. Now we want to divide 2 in half. 2 divided in half is 1. So then once we found that number, I'll put the lines into the 1. So that will tell me what half the distance of that dowel plate is. So then I'll come to my block. Since I've marked the center line, I'll put the center here, poke a hole there for 1/2, poke a hole there for the other half. Now we'll do the long side of the block, or the plate rather. Lock this down at the correct width. Now, we won't be able to use 2 and 1 on this one because it'll make this way too big. So then you have to use multiples that are here. So we'll use the biggest one, 12. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So our initial setting, we'll put the ends here in the 12. And then we'll reset them for 6. That in there. Lock down my dividers. So just like with the width, we'll start in the center. Mark the outside edge. And then mark the outside edge. So then what we can do to make lines, that way we can see where to cut, to take a straight edge, put it up against that line, and just mark it out. And we can do the same thing here on the shorter side. Just put a line that goes right through that dot that we drew. So then, without having to do any complicated math, we've shown ourselves where to cut to do the inlet for this dowel plate. So what I've shown you is just but one of many uses for the sector. Again, historically, this is something that that people have used for a long time for both drawing, carpentry, to do complex math, all sorts of things. But there were many different ways that you could set these up. This is one that's set up specifically for cabinet makers, but you can set them up for, again, all sorts of things. But it's a way to help you do complex math without having to do complex math.